All right, welcome to the CollegeTracks podcast, everyone. My name is Priscilla Diwa, and welcome to our special podcast where we have inspiring conversations with alums of CollegeTracks Access and Success Program. As I mentioned, I'm your host, Priscilla Diwa, and today I have with me an amazing guest, Gabbs Ferrufino. Gabbs Ferrufino recently graduated from BA in Communications, specializing in advertising and public relations. Before graduation, she accepted a job offer as a project coordinator in account services at HC based in Rockville, Maryland. And during her free times, Gabs loves to dance. She likes to do outdoor activities as well as try new food places in the DMV area. Gabs, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. So tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where your family's from, and also like what do you do right now?
Yeah, so I'm from Maryland. My background, my family is from El Salvador. And currently what I'm doing, as I said, I'm currently at a big girl job right out of graduation. It's a new setting, it's an adjustment for sure. Because I think when I was in college, I was like doing more retail and like food industry jobs. This is like a whole new realm, but it's an exciting new chapter. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about like specifically your role as a project coordinator. What exactly does that entail of?
yeah, so the project coordinator, it's a new role for this agency. So one of my number one clients that I'm overseeing their projects is Volkswagen. So I'm maneuvering like the projects to make sure they're on a timely basis because projects are like everywhere between like the beginning to end. So some projects take longer than others. So I'm basically just making sure like the flow is going well, and I talk to the AEs, and sometimes I join in with the client presentations and just make sure like all the projects are going well, and if they have any upcoming projects that I know that so I can put it on my radar to make sure it's in a timely manner. And then the other client that I'm working for right now is NVR, which is
Okay.
more so an interior design. So I'm doing the same thing, just maneuvering their projects and just making sure everything goes well. Because I think sometimes the AEs get overwhelmed with so many different things. So I'm just an asset for them right now.
Okay. And what exactly is an AE?
An
Just
AE is an account executive.
account
Mhm.
executive. Okay. So you when you went to your Loyola, you specialized in or you studied communication, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So oh, sorry, go ahead.
So, I mean, I think my transition at Loyola, I've learned a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Mostly focused on public relations, but I have the background of the broad of communications, like digital media and graphic design and websites and stuff like that. So I have a little bit of everything, which is good.
Yeah.
Um, so when I'm like routing, like for design and stuff like that, we use a lot of Adobe. So it's like I'm familiar with that already because of my Loyola
Okay.
experience.
That's really good. So like just like thinking about like your workload too, it's like even though like you study communication, it's not just like one type of communications, right? Like communication is so broad. So like right now it seems like you have like a multifaceted skill in that sector, which I think allows you to be successful in what you do. That's really great. So while you were in college, did you always know like this is what I wanted to do? Like did you have like an idea of like when I finish college, this is the job I want to do? Or like is it right now just like a starting block?
Um, Initially, like I think when I first started college, I was like, communication is my realm because I think what helped me figure it out, I took a public speaking class, which for me, being like a very talkative person, I thought it was going to be an easy class. But
Yeah.
once I started and doing it, and I actually ended up making like my old TED talk, and like I was so nervous, and I was like, okay, like I like this, but I need to practice more.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was like, okay, communication is where it's at. And then slowly I started navigating and like figuring out what is my niche per se of communications, which I'm still like trying to navigate that and figure it out. But um it has been a transition for sure. I think like more so the marketing aspect because the agency is an advertising and marketing agency. So I'm not so familiar with the marketing per se, but I'm more familiar with the advertising because that was part of my specialization.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned like you had like your own TED talk.
Yeah, it was part of a college assignment. So It was fun.
Yeah.
It was also like scary because at the same time I had to memorize most of my thing.
Yeah.
So, and like we were on stage and everything. So we were acting like if it was like an actual like recorded TED Talk.
Yeah.
It was nice, but I mean, I think it's great to have for people to go to that class because it
Yeah.
prepares them, because I think the stereotype that they say about communication, like as a whole, like it's such a like an easy major, but I'm like, I want to see you try a public speaking class and let me know if it's easy for you, because not
No.
everybody can.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with you, only because I also studied communication when I was in college. So I definitely get that. And it's actually like, yeah, a lot of people do say like communication is like quote unquote easy, but there are like so many different factors. I remember like for me, when I first went to college, I first started out at Montgomery College. So I went there for 2 years before transferring to Maryland. But I also took a public speaking class. And I'm just going to tell you, like people, like the amount of fear people have, like speaking in front of a class, just like let's say just 20 people is insane. And then like I was reading something and it said after like dying, like number one, the second fear that people had was public speaking. So it definitely is something that I feel like everyone should at least like take a class and be familiar with, because in any position that you are, whether you're a communications major or not, in any job that you are, you talk with people, and that's a form of public speaking, so like that's a skill like everyone needs to have for sure. So as I mentioned in the beginning, like this podcast is for CollegeTracks alumni. So I wanted to hear like your story, like your background, like how exactly did you get introduced to CollegeTracks and what was your experience with that as well?
Yeah, so I moved to the area because I went to Bethesda Chevy Chase.
Mhm.
So I entered my junior year. So I was a newbie, I didn't have any friends, and my mom was like trying to like push me to like get involved. And she was like, do the IB, there's so many resources. And I was like shy and scared because I obviously it's a new environment and
Yeah.
everything. So me being me, I like pushed myself, and like I heard about CollegeTracks and I was like, okay, like what is this about? So Miss O and Miss Asia were the two point of contacts at that time for me. And like, they helped me with finding resources for my ACT, my SAT, and finding the locations where I needed to go. Obviously, like they helped me get prep to take those classes as well.
Yeah.
And then I think my senior year, I got a Soul Cycle scholarship through CollegeTracks.
Oh wow.
So we did, I think, like the whole school year with a group of us that like got the
Yeah.
scholarship. So we did Soul Cycle with like people, and like I was able to talk to like doctors and lawyers, and I was like in high school and I was like, wow, this is cool, and I would be able to talk to them and just get to know more about them.
Mhm.
So, and then like obviously CollegeTracks has like so many great resources. Like I remember that filling out my what is it called? The
FAFSA?
FSA, FAFSA,
Yeah.
FAFSA, is where it was challenging because I was like,
Yeah.
obviously I'm a first gen student. So it was like I didn't know anything. And like I remember like hugging my mom. I'm like, hey, like you need to come with me, like you
Yeah.
need. And so I think I honestly am so thankful that I was able to be part of that program and just know about it point blank period, because I feel like that has helped me just figure out more about the college understanding, because like obviously I didn't know, my mom didn't know. And then like the college essays were such like a hassle, because it was like like there was just so many like college apps at that point, and it was
Yeah.
like I didn't know which college I wanted to go to. There's just so many different things, but like with the proofreading and all the volunteers that constantly helped us and
Yeah.
navigated us, and I feel like that helped me become well prepared when I like transitioned to go to college. And
Mm.
having my coach as well
Yeah.
pushing me through university and everything, which they're your best cheerleaders, your mentors, they're always there for you. And I think like that has like helped me just become more familiar. And like my sister now, she
Yeah.
goes to Bethesda too, so like I tell her, like she's a sophomore right now.
Okay.
So I'm like, I tell her, I'm like, okay, once you hit your junior year, you need to go there, you need that like extra help, because even though like I went through it, there might be new things that I don't know yet.
Uh,
So I think it is beneficial for everybody to just give it a shot and just see, even though you may not know that college is a route for you, but at least you
Yeah.
have that like assistance and help and like help you navigate, because I think it's a very scary time
Yeah.
at that point where you just don't know,
Yeah.
you know.
Especially, I definitely get that. I think like that's like a good point to make too, especially like if like you first gen ed, and then because I was too, my family, and it's like trying to figure everything out yourself, especially at a young age too, like with making big decisions like that with college, is it can be overwhelming. It is overwhelming, and to have like someone just like guide you, because they help you really like narrow down on what you need to focus on, and also like help you avoid making mistakes that you can just like bypass. But it's also great that like now like you have that to pass on to your sister, because you had such a great experience with that.
Yeah.
And even though like right now CollegeTracks is only in like 5 different high schools in Montgomery County, I think like CollegeTracks and certain organizations that do the same kind of work too is needed in every single high school, no matter like where the location is, because honestly like students need these. So while you were in high school, this is kind of like a two-part question, but while you were in high school, of course you mentioned like you had CollegeTracks with you, but did you feel like your school in general prepared you, and not you specific you well you specifically too, and also like students that were in the same grade as you, to help you guys go to college? And then also while you're in college, you feel like your college prepared you also to help you navigate in the workforce?
Yeah, so I think what helped me, I was in the IB program
Yeah.
at BCC, so that had already like it helped me build like a discipline per se of like
Mhm.
how hard college classes are.
Yeah.
Um, so it like built that embedded in me, and so it was like it was to a certain extent it was easier for me, and like they kept telling us, like you know certain things are not going to fly by in college and X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, like, I have to put that extra effort and meet these deadlines. There's like, no, I can't ask for like an extension and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So like, having that like helped me prepare to go to college.
Mhm.
And I think like being at Loyola, like it also like, like they helped me prepare for the workforce. Like
Yeah.
I became close with one of the people from the career center, and since I like moved there and I was there for like the next 3 years, just like
Yeah.
always asking questions and like and just seeing what else is out there, because I think that transition of just like the last 2 years of like going to the workforce, like finding an internship and just
Yeah.
like seeing what is out there. Cause I think like what helped me as well is they have like a little like program per se, which is like career exploring,
Okay.
which they make you take like a test of like what are your interests and passions. And that helps you like narrow like, okay, like what are my interests? Like even things that like I never like thought of. Like I think I have like 30% of becoming a nurse. And I was like, I have never thought of that, but like
Yeah.
that's interesting because of the skills that like I have. So it
Exactly.
just helped me figure out, I'm like, okay, like maybe in the future, if I don't like my career per se, like if I wanted to do nursing, like I could do that if I wanted to because I have certain skills. So yeah, it's just like I think the best thing is to like push yourself and just see what is out there. I think like just knowing your resources is like also very helpful because you make connections with other people as well.
Mhm.
I think that's like the better way for you to like set yourself for success.
Yeah. So when you say like know your resources, like mean like what your college has to offer, and like what
Mhm.
everyone does and how they can help you, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because I know like at BCC there was just like so many like good resources and
Yeah.
like clubs and stuff like that that help you too to like, and because I think like that's like what I liked about BCC, was just like the community. It's like if you went to this club, like if there's like a like and we would partner a lot with college track, or like even members would like intertwine like, hey, like there's this event going on, and so people would go because like you're part of that, and like they'll want to know more. And so I think like just having that like connections and like making friends of like with like-minded, or just I guess putting yourself out there to see what else is out there will help you too, because like there's just so many things that people don't know, and it's because like they don't push themselves. And I think like just putting yourself out there is just like good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely like something I agree with too. I say like also adding to that aspect is like people also don't know because they're also not exposed to it, right?
Yeah.
I think like exposure has to do with a lot of things too, because some people might want to do certain things, but it's like if they don't know about it because they're not exposed to it, then they're never going to benefit from that resource. So that's really good to hear that like the school that you went to, like both high school and college, like had a lot of resources to help you as a student specifically. So if you have to think about it too, are there anything like just like in general that you think that like high schools need to have to like help their students, or like is there anything you had like really good?
Yeah, I think like one thing that it's a common factor is like budgeting. I think like that's something that high school and college students need, because I feel like there isn't like a foundation of how to budget, and because like once you get out of high school you can start working, or maybe you're in high school and you start working.
Yeah.
And it's like making sure that you are having like some sort of a budget, and just making sure how much you can pay and what expenses that you have.
Yeah.
It's like helping you have that discipline, because I feel like that goes back to like the whole thing of like time management in college,
Yeah.
and just making sure that you are able to do all these different things. Because like I know at one point, like this past semester, I was doing two internships,
Mm.
I was commuting, and I was a full-time student. So I was like, it was it was like a shock for me to a certain extent, because I'm like, I'm overworking myself. But then I had to remember, I'm like, okay, this and these two internships are like where I'm getting my money at,
Yeah.
and how can I make my time like efficiently when I'm like driving or when I'm at school, and just
Mhm.
managing all of that. I think it's important for young adults to just learn that, because I think that's one thing that people lack sometimes. They're not familiar, they're not exposed to that.
Yeah. So like all in all, like it kind of falls under the realm of financial literacy, right? Like
Mhm.
budgeting. That's a really good aspect too. I think like right now, when I was reading like an article, they were saying like in Florida, I think the governor in Florida like just put into effect that all high school students have to have like a financial literacy class. So I think that people are starting to realize that too, because once you finish like either high school or college too, like like you have to pay back your loans if you do have loans. A lot of students or a lot of graduates like now have like their own apartments, so it's like now that you have to start like all these bills, it's like it's not only working, but it's also like how to manage your finances so you're also successful in that aspect too.
Yeah, because that's something like I'm learning by myself. It's just budgeting. Like, okay, I have this full-time job now. I'm making 50K a year. I'm like, okay, so how can I save and also make sure I have everything that I need,
Right.
and just like trying to figure that out. And the thing is like what is kind of affecting, I think, worldwide is inflation, how expensive everything is.
Yeah.
So it's like I have to keep in mind that I might have to cut certain things in order for me to make and pay rent and like
Yeah.
go like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, now it's like the good thing is like because like now you're learning that it's like you can also pass it on to your sister. So it's like everything that you did and like everything you've learned, like you can also give it back to people who are like on the rise to that. So that's really good to have that aspect to your sister too. Yeah. So after graduating college, now that like you're in your big full-time job now, what are some of the things that like surprised you about the workforce, and also like some of the things that you've learned about yourself too?
Yeah, so it was a transition for me. Like I just had a meeting with my supervisor maybe a week ago, because like there were some days where I just didn't have things to do, and I was just like, okay, like is there anything I can help in? And my supervisor was like, yeah, like we'll have like I'll send you things as much as I can, but there might be some days where you won't have that much to do. So you just have to like figure it out. Just how do you make your 8 hours? And I was like, oh, I'm not used to that. I'm used to being busy all the time.
Yeah.
And so it has helped me just figure out, I'm like, okay, like maybe I shouldn't like once I get something like do it right then and then, like just make sure like everything is flowing correctly, and if there's any extra steps or stuff like that that I need to do, just making sure like I take my time, because I feel like in in the very beginning I was making like several hiccups because I just wanted to get it done and just show that like, hey, I'm working, but I'm like, okay, like I have to just make sure that like I'm doing things correctly, and just making sure that like everything is working fine. Also just helping other like clients too. Like I had the opportunity to um help out in a project for Kawasaki, which is a automobile industry. So I basically translated from Spanish to English
Wow.
a ad that they're going to be putting on their website. And I mean, that was like kind of cool. I was like, oh, I was like, I didn't think that like I would use my bilingual skills in something
Yeah.
small, like, you know. So like now it just shows like my agency, like, oh, like she speaks Spanish. Like if there's another other project that we need translation, like she's gonna be able to help us. So it's just like making, like, I think like for me, it's just like I'm still learning what works and what doesn't. And like there's a learning curve. And I think like I'm my worst critic, where I'm like, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I can't do that here. I need to, take my time and just make sure I'm learning everything
Yeah.
as much as I can, because this is like a new role. Like I said, this is a new opportunity. I'm just thankful to be in an agency. This is not where I see myself the next 5 years,
Yeah.
but I got myself in the door, and I just need to figure out what I want to do exactly. If I want to stay here, or if I want to move to another like actual PR agency. But having that background and just putting myself out there, that has like helped me just like see the world,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. And I think like that's like one of the main things that like our first like job after graduation is really there for, is like for us to know what exactly about the workforce that we like and don't like. What about like not even just like the workforce, but like the kind of organization we want to be in. And then also I think like working like full time like in a workforce is like it allows you to see what your biggest strengths are and what your weaknesses are too. Because moving forward, you get to be like, okay, like I really love the aspect of graphic designing. This is really what I want to do. Or like I really love the aspect of translation, right? So this honestly, like this experience is just like I think for the most part like a learning experience for you to just like continue to build upon until you reach a place where it's like this is exactly like full thing like what I want to do, and I love every aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think like looking at it from that aspect really like helps us a lot too. So talking about your job too, it seems like you're doing like a lot of different things. But what are some of the things that like you really enjoy the most in your job?
I think just having that interaction with the client, I think that's very like exciting for me.
Mhm.
And just seeing what new projects that are like gonna be happening. Like we are planning a photo shoot for the VW driver gear right now.
Yeah.
So I'm like helping them like with the design right now, and we're like looking for models and stuff like that. So my supervisor was like, maybe you can be a model, and I was like, wow, that would be great. It's like just doing stuff that is like not on the office base. I
Yeah.
think like helps me, because like I mean I'm thankful that like my job is hybrid, so I can work from home if I want to, or I can go to the office. So it's like flexible. But I have my days where I'm like, okay, like I don't want to be in the office. Like I want to go out and do stuff.
Yeah.
So that's something that like I've noted myself. I'm like, okay, like I need to figure out like if I need to change my environment, or what exactly do I want to do in order for me to become more successful.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think a lot more people now like are heading towards more either like a remote setting or hybrid, just because it gives them that flexibility as well. So that's definitely good that you get to experience that too. So speaking on like something outside of work, like you do mention like a few of your hobbies I like to do, like to dance and also try like new food around the area. Specifically for dancing, what kind of dance do you like to do?
So my I love dance from like my culture. I love dancing salsa, cumbia, bachata. I love that. And I mean I've tried like a little bit of like a hip hop class and stuff like that, but I'm just like, this is a little bit too much movement for me, so I can't really do that. But I'll stick to my salsa and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, and I think it brings just memories
Yeah.
from the motherland, where we have good music and then we're eating good.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm a foodie for sure. I love eating. Like it's my favorite hobby. Like my mom tells me all the time, like, if you got paid to eat, like I would be a billionaire. I'm like,
Oh
I
my
would
God.
love to eat.
What are like the top three restaurants that you've tried in Montgomery County or just like in general?
Oh, I think like right now my obsession is like the Asian culture. Like I love going to Korean barbecue. Like my favorite place is going to Honey Pig. There's one in Bethesda.
Okay.
It is on the pricier side, but food quality.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just tried for Mother's Day with my mom, this Peruvian place.
Huh?
We had like a 3-course brunch. Oh my gosh, but I forgot the name. Oh, Pisco y Nazca.
Okay.
Um, it's in DC. I can't remember what part of DC, but it's beautiful
Yeah.
and the food was amazing.
Okay.
And then actually tonight is my parents' anniversary. We're going to, this is more on the, what is it? I think Howard County, I believe.
Okay.
In Annapolis,
Yeah.
place called Chart House.
Sure.
Drinks are great. Food is amazing. It is on the pricier side, but I mean, you have the view of the bay. So
Oh,
if you want to do something romantic or just on date night by yourself, like
yeah.
a great place to go. If you
Okay.
want to leave DC.
Yeah. That sounds really good. You should have like a blog where you just like download everything, every place that you've been to, just like give your reviews. That would be really awesome.
I should. I mean, I just did on my personal page, and then people are like, "Oh wait, where is that at?" I'm like, "You need to go." Like, I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll think about that. Maybe that'll be another hobby of mine.
Exactly. You can have like sponsorships. People could sponsor you to try
That's
their food.
true. Yeah.
Yes. So, last question that I always like to ask in interviews, is what are you most grateful for?
Oh, I'm grateful for so many things. Oh my goodness. But I think that I'm grateful for going to BCC because I feel like without being there, I don't think I would be where I'm at right now. Honestly. I'm very like I think that's where I like the doors open for me.
Mhm.
Because the high school that I went to before, it wasn't like a really good high school, so I didn't have that many possibilities. But yeah, like when I first started college, I went to a smaller college, Southern Vermont, and I had a full ride over there, which CollegeTracks helped me like navigate all of that. And then unfortunately, like that college got closed for reasons, and so I was in the midst of like trying to transfer back to come to Maryland.
Yeah.
And like my coach at that time was like what was trying to tell me, like, hey, maybe Loyola might be not be like a great position for you, but I was like, no, like this is where I want to go. This is where I want to be at.
Yeah.
And because of my persistence and my achievements that I did well
Yeah.
on, I was able to like go to Loyola. And I mean, I think just being part of like clubs and stuff like that at BCC helped me become better at Loyola. And like, I mean, I ended my senior year, like I said, with 2 internships. I was a president of a Women of Color initiative on campus, and I participated with ALAS, which was like it's a Latin, Asian, Caribbean, Black, like club that we were into. So yeah, like I was able to be involved and just do a lot of things.
Mhm.
So I'm like really grateful for that.
That's really great. I think like just like looking back, like it's a really like really good dichotomy to see like where you are now, but like tracing back to like where you came from and seeing like all the opportunities you have. And because of that, like that's where you are right now. So when I think about like what I'm grateful for, like it's not only like in the present moment too, but like I have to think about too like all my things in the past. So that's a really good reminder of what you just said right now. So, just like to close, I just want to say thank you so much, Gabbs, for coming on the podcast. I think like seeing like what you talked about, like when you're in high school to college to now, like you can really see like your drive and persistence and pushing yourself like really led to being successful in your position right now. And I think that's like a testament for like everyone, like wherever they are in life, is never like be afraid to try new things, never be afraid to show up, and like just keep going and pushing. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.